Awesome. Tell me about it. What do you think you do? I'll start. What do you think you do well with evaluations? What are some of the pain points you have?
I don't think that I do it well. So I have like very bad experience with evaluation. Usually.
What do you find challenging about it?
What to say, like what to say and how to say it.
Okay, what to say and how to say it. Got it.
That's practical with everything.
That's my challenge in life, by the way. What to say and how to say it. Particularly when I'm talking to females for some reason, it's much harder. Somebody else. Who else? Thoughts on evaluations, things that work well, things that don't work well.
Sometimes I feel like hard to catch the problem. Yeah, when I listen to a speaker talk about something, so sometimes it's hard to find all the problems in the speech. That's difficult for me. Yeah.
Identifying the problems in the speech that they have, so you can give effective feedback on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. One more. Oh, a couple more. Tim.
So, just giving feedback is one thing, but giving really detailed, insightful feedback is a completely different story.
So
that is harder for me.
So giving the superficial feedback is easy, but giving the actual meaningful
really
feedback.
Into the meat of it, that's...
Yeah, absolutely. And one last one. Yes.
Sometimes when you listen to a really good speaker, like Mala shared, right, it's hard to pick out the areas where they can improve, but I'm sure they do have areas where they can improve, but they kind of gloss over because you're so enamored with how great they are.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly a sweet spot that you want as an evaluator. You don't want a speech that's so rudimentary because, where do you begin? But if the speaker's too good, what feedback do you give them? So you almost hope for you get that middle ground where it's good, but not great. So absolutely empathize with that. Great. Well, you heard my evaluation tonight. What were some of your thoughts about it? What were a couple things that you liked? What were a couple things that you didn't like?
Sounded like a prepared speech. Very well done. And I have no idea how you would have done that within the time span
Thank you.
that we had.
Thank you. And I'll talk about that. Thank you. Anything else?
Well, you had good structure to your evaluation. I think that's something that we've never done before this time.
Great. Anything you thought I could have done differently?
You could have given it in Chinese.
I'll get to that soon. Great. So when I think about evaluations is that I joined Toastmasters when I was in Chicago 2.5 years ago. And the club that I joined there was called Extreme Toastmasters. And the guy that ran it, who was an IT consultant at Deloitte, and he was a public speaking coach on the side, he ran all of his meetings, all his entire Toastmasters group was based on that acronym that I went through, ACTS. Attention, content, technique, and sales. So the entire Toastmasters club, every meeting was about ACTS. He mentioned it probably 100 times. So very simply, that was my formative experience in Toastmasters. So I started applying it to evaluations, and it has served me extremely well because what it does is it gives me a concrete foundation from which I can do every single evaluation. Because at its core, what I was taught and what I believe is that those 4 tenets are what every speech is about. You want to get the audience's attention, right? You're dead in the water if you can't get the attention. You're going to tell a story. There's going to be content there. There's a takeaway from the audience, right? That's what the technique is, what you want the audience to do. Then last but not least, you have to have the ability to sell it to the audience. Ask the question that Tim talked about, the golden question in my opinion, why is it important? What is in it for me if I follow the advice that you have here? So that's why I think that the ACT structure is very effective to use. Now, is my recommendation that everybody uses the ACT structure? If you want to, feel free. I didn't come up with it, I don't own it, I have no copyright on it, but I really encourage and coach all of you to find your own structure that that you can use for an evaluation and just do it over and over again. Another member of my club, Golden Gate Toastmasters, his name is Will Katz. Anyone know Will Katz in the room?
I've met him.
Yeah. So Will is extremely good at giving evaluations. I might argue he's even better than I am, though I do beat him in contests from time to time. But his method is simply, he'll go through and he'll talk about 3 things a person did well, why they did them well, why it worked, and 3 things that they could improve and how to improve them. That's his structure. He follows it religiously in the same way that I follow ACTS. So the first key takeaway is find a structure that works for you individually, follow it, and refine it until it becomes perfection. The second takeaway I want to talk about, who here has heard of this book, Made to Stick, by Heath and Heath? 2 brothers, as you might guess. So these 2 brothers, one of which is a professor, the other of which is a successful businessman, they wrote this book a few years ago, and they answered the question of why certain things are remembered versus why certain things are forgotten. And the term they came up with, any guesses what it was? Sticky, right? Why are certain things sticky? Why are certain things not sticky? And they came up with an acronym, SUCCESS, where they put 6 of these factors down. Any guesses, by the way, of what some of those 6 factors that makes things sticky versus not sticky are?
Emotion.
Emotion. Yes, that is one. That's the E. Any other guesses?
Usefulness.
That is a good guess, and it's close. It's close. You're almost there. Not, but almost. Any others?
Relevance.
Relevance. Yeah. How does it become pragmatic? Yeah, that's certainly encompassed in the theme, though not one of the exact ones. One more guess.
I'm trying to think of it.
I like the way you're thinking with that. So the ones are, first and foremost, as you did a great job of, storytelling, right? Tell stories. The other one is unexpected, right? Do something that's unexpected. Third is have examples that are concrete. Fourth is credible. E stands for emotion. And the reason I'm telling you all this stuff is that when you're giving either a speech or an evaluation, you want the end message to stick with the person that you're giving it to and stick with the audience. And if you follow those 6 as outlined in the book, you'll get very close to being able to do that. So one takeaway and ask that I'll have for the group here is I will leave this book and someone can take it, whether or not you want to read it or not, or go on Wikipedia and just look up these 6 and talk about them later. But take the book or look it up, and I want someone over the next month to give a 2-minute special at the club about the principles in Made to Stick, because I believe for evaluations, impromptu speaking, whether it be table topics, 2-minute specials, pathways, the whole 9 yards, is taking the guidance from this book will make everybody a much more effective speaker. So, I will ask, is there a volunteer in the room here that wants to take that on? A 2-minute spec. Perfect. So, 2-minute special over the next month, or a prepared speech to talk about the takeaways of the Heath brothers from Made to Stick. Awesome. Last thing that I will go through is there is a couple general rules that I always do when I give an evaluation. First and foremost, as you noticed, I memorize the evaluations. I like to create that personal connection, and when I'm reading off of a prepared script, I just can't do it. So I probably lose about 25% of the content that I would love to be able to tell a speaker because I have to memorize it, which is not always easy, but I feel that I make up for that by having the ability to connect and not read off. Secondly, I follow the structure of ACTS, and I encourage everyone to have their own structure as well. I also apply the golden rule. At my club a couple weeks ago, someone gave a speech, and a very good evaluator gave them very, very I thought, true and fair, but certainly harsh feedback. And as club president, I got some feedback about how the feedback was a bit too harsh. So when I give evaluations, I apply the golden rule. And the golden rule is do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Feedback and improvement's an integral part of Toastmasters. We're all here to improve our communication, but we're also here to have fun and enjoy ourselves as well. So as you're giving feedback, you want to make sure you're doing it in the same way you'd like to receive it. So soften the edge if need be. So that is all I got. Any questions?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Okay. The reason Reid is able to actually make a speech from his evaluation is he's also a competitive speaker. Alright. So this is important to mention as part of the evaluation. The number one takeaway for all of us with his wonderful workshop is that even an evaluation is a speech. Hello, you see? A lot of people don't think that's the case. And if you truly came to this club to become better speaker, every time you open your mouth, it is a speech. That means his evaluations, your evaluations. That means when you get up there to do a table topic response, it is also a speech. And every time you get up to announce your job as a timer or as a grammarian, what did I say? Every time you open your mouth is a speech. So he has been practicing that, and you can see the benefits just from his behavior, his contribution to the meeting.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'll end with a quick takeaway. Yes.
When applying the golden rule, how do you, so I mean, I might have different desires for what I want other people to do to me than someone else might have. I might prefer harsher feedback, someone might prefer lighter feedback. How do you account for kind of differences in taste?
In the context of a Toastmasters meeting where I know who I'm going to evaluate, I will directly ask them before, what kind of feedback do you want? And typically, they'll give me a pretty direct answer. So that's 70% of it. The other 30% is just, they say one thing, but I also know them a little bit as well, so I can kind of So it's, it's an art more than a science, but I ask them, and then I apply my gut feeling as well. Great question.
Right.
Yes.
Except for repetitive practice, do you have other techniques to slow down a speaker?
To slow down when I
Yes,
speak?
slow the speed of a speaker such as me.
Oh, so you're saying,
Yeah.
what advice do I have for you?
Yeah, I have tendency to speak very fast. I couldn't control myself. Even every time I wrote slow down my speed, but I still tend to speak very fast.
I absolutely empathize because I have the same problem as well. I tend to want to go, get it out, speak fast. I would tell you that what I do that works for me is I get up here, and when I pause for a second longer than I think I should, and internally, in my gut, I feel like it's awkward. I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing. What I found, though, based on feedback that I got from other people, is that no one else except me notices that, and when you actually do use the power of pause, it only makes your messaging that much more effective. Because people, the audience needs time for that message to sink in.
Yeah.
So just as happened when you were getting the attention, if you rush through it, you barrel through it, you lose effectiveness. To maximize the impact, utilize the power of pause. So I spend an extra seconds longer than I think I need to, and that's what's worked for me.
Thank you.
I love questions. Engagement's the best, so anything else? Gotta be at least one more out there.
I would like to do a commentary about what you respond also to his question. Sometimes as a speaker, you want a harsh, what do you call it, a harsh, harder kind of a feedback on there too. There are two things that are effective in a harsh one. The audience may not know that you have asked for a harsh one. So when he gets up there and he gives you a really harsh one, the icebreaker, the one who has not given the icebreaker, will go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to give an icebreaker because if that's what it is, I'm not going to go up there. Okay. So the best thing to do is that if he says, listen, I'm going to evaluate a really high accomplished speaker. And he asked me to give him a really no holds barred, a very tough evaluation. So if the audience hear that, they'll say, oh, okay, fair is fair. Now this speaker, then we all learn from that. You see, it's just being aware of who the audience is. If he's not aware of the audience and he says, okay, I know, Xiao asked me to give a really, really harsh one. You see, then he's not aware of the audience. You're not aware.
Yeah, absolutely great point. Perfect. Any other questions, comments, feedback? Funny jokes? Great.